The next afternoon, Ravi was finishing his deliveries when he received a call from the shop owner. "Ravi, there is a special order for you." "It is from a customer near the park. You need to deliver it personally," the owner said. Ravi felt a sudden rush of curiosity. Could it be the traveler again? He quickly packed the pizzas, mounted his scooter, and rode to the park. His heart beat faster as he approached the familiar bench. When he arrived, the woman was there, sitting with her travel bag beside her. She looked at him and smiled warmly. "Hello, Ravi. I hope I'm not keeping you too busy," she said softly. "Not at all," Ravi replied, trying to sound calm. "I'm happy to deliver this to you." They sat together, sharing the pizza, and talked casually for a while. But Ravi noticed that she seemed different today. There was a quiet seriousness in her eyes, and her posture was more upright. She looked at him with a soft smile and finally spoke. "Ravi, I think it is time I tell you something important about myself," she said gently. Ravi felt his heart skip a beat. "Oh?" he asked, curious and a little nervous. She nodded. "I am not just a traveler. I am the CEO of a company. My work requires me to travel a lot, and I have responsibilities that most people do not understand. But when I meet you, I feel like I can be myself without titles or rules." Ravi blinked in surprise. He had suspected she was not ordinary, but this revelation still shocked him. He looked at her carefully. She did not act proud or distant. She was calm, honest, and kind. "You mean, you are very important?" Ravi asked softly. She shook her head and laughed lightly. "Important in the world's eyes, maybe, but that does not make me better than anyone. What matters is kindness, honesty, and understanding. That is why I enjoy talking to you. You treat me like a person, not a position or a title." Ravi felt a mixture of admiration and respect. He realized that her life was very different from his own. She had money, influence, and responsibility, yet she sat with him on a bench, sharing pizza and conversation as if they were equals. "I never expected this," Ravi said quietly. "I thought you were just a traveler." "I did not know." She smiled softly. "I wanted to see if I could meet someone who truly cared without knowing who I am. And I found that in you, Ravi. You have a good heart, and that matters more than anything." Ravi felt a warm happiness in his chest. He realized that she had trusted him with her secret, and that trust was special. It was not about wealth or power. It was about honesty and kindness. They spent the next hour talking, sharing stories, and laughing quietly. Ravi learned more about her work and the challenges she faced, but he never felt distant from her. She spoke simply, without arrogance, and listened to him with genuine interest. As the sun began to set, Ravi knew he had to leave. He stood up, feeling both nervous and excited. "Thank you for telling me. It means a lot," he said sincerely. She smiled warmly. "And thank you, Ravi. You have reminded me that true connection comes from the heart, not status. I hope we can continue to meet even if our lives are different." Ravi nodded. "We will. I will make sure to keep our meeting special, no matter what happens." They waved goodbye, and Ravi rode his scooter slowly, thinking about the revelation. He realized that life could be surprising, and people were often more than they appeared. Kindness, honesty, and trust could bridge any gap, even between a simple pizza delivery man and a powerful CEO. Meanwhile, she watched him leave, her heart light and peaceful. She had found someone who saw her for who she truly was, without judgment. That connection was rare and valuable, and she treasured it deeply. From that day on, their bond changed. It became stronger, built on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. They both knew that life could bring challenges, but together, they could face them with kindness and understanding, and so, the quiet friendship between Ravi and the traveler became something more meaningful. A bond that would shape their lives in ways neither of them had imagined. The next morning, Ravi woke up with a feeling of excitement he had never experienced before. Yesterday's revelation about the traveler being a CEO stayed in his mind. It was a lot to take in, but he felt happy that she had trusted him with her secret. For the first time in a long while, he felt that life could bring unexpected but wonderful surprises. At the pizza shop, he worked quickly, taking orders and delivering pizzas. Yet his thoughts kept returning to her. He wondered if they would meet today and what they would talk about. The idea of seeing her brought a smile to his face that he could not hide. Around noon, Ravi received a delivery near the city park. His heart beat faster. Could it be her? He parked the scooter and walked toward the familiar bench. There she was, sitting with her travel bag beside her. When she saw him, her face lit up with a warm and genuine smile. "Hello, Ravi," she said softly. "I hoped we would meet again today." "I am glad to see you," Ravi replied. "I brought your pizza." They sat together, opening the boxes and sharing the food. The conversation flowed easily, as if nothing had changed, even after the revelation of her identity. She laughed at his jokes, and he listened intently to her stories, fascinated by her life and the experiences she shared. After a while, Ravi decided to speak from his heart. "I am happy you told me the truth," he said. "It does not change anything for me. You are still the same person I met in the park. Kind and thoughtful." She looked at him with a soft, grateful smile. "Thank you, Ravi, that means a lot. I was worried it might make things different between us, but you treated me the same as before. That is why I like being with you." Ravi felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that their bond was built on honesty, trust, and small acts of kindness. Money, status, or fame did not matter to either of them. What mattered was that they cared for each other genuinely. They talked for hours, sharing dreams, small hopes, and funny moments from their lives. Ravi learned more about her challenges as a CEO, and she learned about his struggles and ambitions. Each story they shared brought them closer, creating a deep understanding between them. As the sun began to set, Ravi knew he had to leave for his next deliveries. He stood up reluctantly, feeling a little sad to end their meeting. "Ravi, I want you to know something," she said softly. "Even though my life is complicated, I enjoy these moments with you. You have reminded me that happiness can be found in simple things: food, conversation, and kindness." Ravi smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and happiness. "And you have reminded me that life can surprise us. People can be different from what we expect, and connections can grow in the simplest ways." They stood together for a moment, watching the sun sink behind the city skyline. The warm glow reflected in their eyes, and both felt a silent promise forming between them, a promise of friendship, trust, and perhaps something more. Finally, Ravi waved and mounted his scooter. "I will see you soon," he said. "I will be here," she replied, smiling. "And I will bring a story next time for you to hear." As Ravi rode away, he felt a lightness in his heart. His life was still challenging and money was still short, but for the first time he felt that hope and happiness could exist even in small moments. He realized that simple acts of kindness and honesty could change lives, not only for the person receiving them but also for the one giving them. The woman watched him leave, her heart feeling peaceful. She had met someone rare, someone who valued honesty and care more than anything else. In a world full of busy schedules, responsibilities, and challenges, she had found a connection that was true and meaningful. Days, weeks, and months would pass, but their bond would continue to grow. Meetings in the park, shared pizzas, and heartfelt conversations became a part of their lives. They had learned that true connection does not depend on money, fame, or titles. It depends on respect, understanding, and small acts of kindness. And so, Ravi and the traveler, now friends bound by trust and warmth, began a new chapter in their lives. A chapter filled with hope, laughter, and the knowledge that sometimes the simplest gestures could create the most meaningful relationships. In the quiet city park, a pizza delivery man and a traveling woman discovered that kindness could bridge worlds, and that friendship and trust could lead to a brighter future for both of them. The city was alive with noise. Cars rushed past, horns echoed in the air, and lights from tall buildings shone down on the crowded streets. Among the moving people, one man walked slowly. His clothes were old, his shoes were torn, and his face looked tired. His name was Amir. For years, Amir had no home. He slept in corners of the streets, under bridges, or in abandoned bus stops. He carried a small bag with just a blanket and a few pieces of bread. Yet even in his hard life, he kept a soft heart. Amir had learned how to survive in the city. He knew which bakery gave away leftover bread at night and which park was safe enough to rest. But he also knew something more important. He knew how it felt to be lost and alone. That was why whenever someone asked him for directions, he always helped with kindness. On one evening, the city felt busier than usual. Tourists filled the streets because a festival was taking place. Music played from the markets, and street sellers called out to people to buy colorful lights and small souvenirs. Amir sat near the entrance of a small alley, hoping someone might share food. He pulled his old jacket closer as the air grew cooler. As he sat, he noticed a young woman standing not far away. She looked different from others. She held a map in her hands and turned it again and again with confusion on her face. Her dress was neat, her bag looked expensive, but her steps were unsure. She tried asking people for help, but most passed by quickly, too busy to stop. Amir watched her for a while. Something in her face reminded him of the time he first came to the city long ago. Not knowing where to go, he stood up and walked slowly toward her. She turned, surprised to see him. "Excuse me, are you lost?" Amir asked in a gentle tone. The woman hesitated. She looked at his clothes, his messy beard, his worn shoes. At first she thought maybe it was not safe to talk. But his eyes looked honest and calm. She gave a small nod. "Yes, I am looking for my hotel. I cannot find it on this map," she replied softly. Her voice had a foreign accent. Amir smiled faintly. "May I see the name of the hotel?" She showed him the map and the address written on it. Amir thought for a moment. He knew the streets well because he walked them every day. The hotel was not close. In fact, it was on the other side of the city center. He realized she might be in danger if she tried to walk alone through the crowded festival streets at night. "It is far from here," Amir said, "but I know the way. I can take you there." The woman looked at him with surprise. "You will guide me?" "Yes," Amir replied, "if you trust me. The roads are confusing and you may end up more lost." The woman studied him for a few seconds. Something about his calm manner gave her courage. She decided to trust him. "All right, please lead the way." Amir nodded. Together they started walking. He guided her carefully through the busy festival. He warned her to keep her bag close because pickpockets often moved in the crowd. She listened and followed his steps closely. As they walked, she asked, "What is your name?" "Amir," he answered. "And yours?" "My name is Lena," she said. Amir smiled. "Nice to meet you, Lena." For a while they walked in silence. Lena looked at the people dancing in the festival streets, the bright colors and the music. But her eyes kept noticing Amir. He walked with steady steps, and though he wore old clothes, he showed respect in every word he spoke. "You know the streets very well," Lena said after some time. "Yes," Amir replied. "When you live here long enough, the streets become your map." Lena did not ask more. But deep inside, she wondered what he meant by those words. She felt curious about this stranger who suddenly became her guide. She did not know who he really was, nor did Amir know who she really was. The city lights grew brighter as night fell. Amir led Lena toward the quieter roads that would take them closer to her hotel. Somewhere deep inside, both of them felt that this meeting was not simple chance. It was the start of something neither of them expected. Amir led Lena through narrow streets that twisted between tall buildings. The city looked different from here. The bright lights of the festival seemed far away. Small shops closed for the night, and only a few people walked along the sidewalks. The air smelled faintly of bread and spices from a late-night bakery nearby. Lena noticed how calmly Amir moved. He seemed to know the streets without looking at a map. Every turn he took was confident, every step careful. She could feel the trust growing inside her. "You really know this city well," she said, watching his steady movements. "Yes," Amir replied. "I have walked these streets for many years. Some roads are safe, some are not. You have to be careful at night," Lena nodded. She realized how lucky she was to meet someone like him. "I would have been completely lost without you," she admitted. Amir smiled softly. "Sometimes people get lost not only in streets but in life too. You just need someone to guide them for a while." Lena looked at him in surprise. His words sounded simple but meaningful. She wondered what life must have been like for him. His clothes were worn, his hands rough, yet his eyes held calm and kindness. She guessed he had stories that no one would hear unless he chose to share them. As they walked, they passed a small park. The benches were empty, and the street lamps gave a soft yellow light. Amir slowed down and pointed toward a narrow path that led to the main road. "If we take this path, we will reach the city center faster. It is quieter but safe if you follow me." Lena followed him carefully. She felt a strange comfort walking beside a stranger who seemed to know every corner of the city. "How did you learn all these streets?" she asked, curious. Amir thought for a moment. "When you live without a home, every street becomes important. You have to remember where to find food, water, and safety. You cannot trust maps alone. You trust your steps and your eyes." Lena listened quietly. She realized he had survived so much, yet he never complained. There was pride in his voice, but also humility. She felt respect for him growing inside her. The streets became narrower and the sounds of the festival faded completely. Amir glanced around. These roads are safe. People know me here. You do not need to worry. Lena smiled faintly. I trust you, Amir. They continued walking. Occasionally, Amir stopped to point out small signs. This bakery gives leftover bread at night. That corner is safe for people who sleep outside. And this shopkeeper helps everyone who asks. Lena noticed how much he cared for others even when his own life was hard. You do a lot for people, she said. Amir shook his head. I do what I can. Sometimes small kindness is enough to make a difference. People forget that kindness is free. Lena felt a warmth in her heart. She had traveled to many cities, met many people, but she had never met someone like Amir. He seemed invisible to most, yet he had a power that could guide and protect. As they approached a busy intersection, Amir paused. From here, we will cross the main road carefully. Cars move fast and many drivers do not notice pedestrians. Lena followed his advice. Amir took her hand for a moment, guiding her across safely. Lena felt safe in his presence. She realized that for someone with no home, he had more courage and care than most people she had ever met. Finally, the hotel was visible in the distance. Its lights were bright and a few cars moved in and out of the parking area. Lena felt relief wash over her. She had been afraid of walking alone, but Amir had brought her safely. She turned to him with a smile. I cannot thank you enough, Amir. You saved me tonight. Amir shook his head and smiled gently. No need for thanks. I am happy that you are safe. Lena watched him as he started to walk away. Something told her that this man's life was not easy, yet he carried goodness wherever he went. She wanted to know more about him, but she knew that now was not the time. As Amir disappeared into the streets, Lena felt a strange curiosity about the stranger who had guided her. She did not know it yet, but this meeting would change both their lives in ways they could never imagine. The night was quiet now. The city lights reflected on wet streets from the small drizzle that had passed earlier. Amir walked slowly back to his usual corner near the bridge. He carried his small bag with his few belongings and thought about the young woman he had just helped. He did not know her story or why she was in the city, but he hoped she would reach her hotel safely. Meanwhile, Lena stood near the hotel entrance. She watched Amir disappear into the streets. Something about him stayed in her mind. She realized how rare it was to meet someone so kind and honest. Most people in the city hurried past, focused only on themselves. But Amir had taken time to help her. She felt a deep sense of gratitude. The next morning, Lena woke early. She could not stop thinking about Amir. She wanted to find a way to thank him properly, but she did not know how. She walked outside, hoping she might catch a glimpse of him, but the streets were busy with morning traffic. She saw many people, but none who matched the memory of his calm face and gentle eyes. Amir, on the other hand, had already started his day. He moved from street to street, asking for small jobs from shopkeepers, helping anyone who needed guidance or just collecting a little food. Life was never easy for him, but he accepted it with patience. He had learned that small acts of kindness made life meaningful, even when survival was difficult. Later that afternoon, Lena decided to walk through the city, hoping to see Amir again. She remembered the narrow streets he had led her through the night before. She carefully followed the path, asking a few people if they had seen a man with worn clothes and a kind face. Most people shook their heads. Then near a small bakery she spotted him. He was talking quietly to a shopkeeper, pointing toward the park nearby. She approached him slowly. "Excuse me," she called softly. Amir turned and saw her. Recognition lit up his face. "Lena," he said, a gentle smile forming. "I did not expect to see you again so soon." "I wanted to thank you properly," she said. "You helped me last night when I was lost." "I cannot forget it," Amir shook his head. "You do not need to thank me. I only did what I could. Are you safe now?" "Yes, I am safe. But I want to know more about you. How do you manage living in the streets? How do you survive every day?" Lena asked, her curiosity shining through. Amir looked down at his hands. He hesitated for a moment and then spoke softly. "Life has not been easy. I lost my family when I was young. I had no home and very little help, but I learned to walk these streets to help others and to survive. I do small jobs, collect what I need, and sometimes people share food with me. It is not much, but it is enough." Lena listened quietly. She felt a mix of sadness and admiration. She could not imagine living like that. She lived in comfort with every need provided, yet here was Amir, living with almost nothing but giving kindness to strangers without expecting anything in return. "Amir," she said, her voice gentle, "you are very brave and kind. Most people would lose hope, but you never give up." Amir smiled faintly. "Hope is all we have. Even when life is hard, helping others gives meaning. It reminds me that life is not only about surviving, but about caring." Lena looked at him with respect. She had never met anyone like him. She realized that he had more strength and wisdom than most people she knew. "I wish more people were like you," she said softly. Amir looked at her. "Maybe they are, but we do not always notice them. People can be kind even in small ways, and it can change someone's life." For a moment they stood in silence, the sounds of the city around them. Lena thought about how chance had brought them together the night before. She felt that meeting Amir was not just coincidence. It was something that might change her perspective on life forever. Amir finally spoke, his voice calm. "Now you should go back to your hotel. There's much for you to do today." Lena smiled. "Yes, I will. But I will not forget you, Amir. I hope I can help you one day, too." Amir nodded. "That is enough. Kindness is never measured by money or gifts. It is in the heart." As Lena walked back toward the hotel, Amir watched her leave. He did not know she was a millionaire living a life of comfort beyond imagination. He only saw a young woman grateful for his help. And for Amir, that simple gratitude was more valuable than anything else. The next day, the city was busy as usual. Street vendors called out to people. Cars honked in the traffic and pedestrians hurried to their destinations. Amir moved through the streets quietly, carrying his small bag and scanning the surroundings. Even though he had no home, he always felt connected to the city. It was his world and he knew it better than anyone else. Lena spent the morning at her hotel, but her thoughts kept returning to Amir. She could not forget the way he had guided her safely through the city the night before. She wanted to find a way to show her gratitude. She realized that words alone might not be enough. She had to act. After some thinking, she decided to leave the hotel and look for him again. She put on a simple dress and carried a small bag with her essentials. She asked the concierge about a few streets and started walking toward the area where Amir usually stayed. Her steps were careful, and her eyes searched for any sign of him. Amir was near a small park, sitting on a bench and eating a piece of bread he had collected earlier. A few pigeons walked around him, hoping for crumbs. He looked tired, but his mind was calm. Helping Lena yesterday had given him a small sense of satisfaction that he rarely felt these days. As Lena approached, Amir noticed her first. She was looking around, and when she saw him, her face lit up with recognition. Amir stood slowly and walked toward her. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning, Amir," Lena replied with a smile. "I wanted to see you again. I hope I am not disturbing you." Amir shook his head. "Not at all. It is rare to see someone who cares enough to look for me." Lena hesitated for a moment, then spoke carefully. "I want to invite you for lunch. I know it is unusual, but I want to thank you for helping me the night before." Amir looked surprised. "Lunch? I do not eat at restaurants very often. Most days I manage with what I can find." "I insist," Lena said firmly. "Please come with me. It is the least I can do." Amir paused. He was not used to such invitations. People rarely offered him kindness like this without expecting something in return. He thought for a moment and finally nodded. "All right. I will go with you." Lena led him to a small restaurant nearby. The place was quiet and comfortable. They sat by a window and Amir looked around curiously. Everything was clean and bright. He had never felt this kind of environment before, and it made him both nervous and excited. The waiter came to take their order. Lena suggested a few simple dishes and Amir accepted. He did not want to cause trouble or seem greedy. As they waited for the food, Lena asked, "Amir, do you like living in this part of the city?" Amir smiled faintly. "I do. It is where I have learned to survive. These streets are my home in a way. Every corner has a story. I know where people are kind and where danger hides. It is not an easy life, but I manage." Lena listened carefully. She realized how strong he was, living day by day with patience and courage. She had never experienced life like this, but she admired his spirit. When the food arrived, Amir looked at it with amazement. He had eaten meals before, but something about this made him feel special. He thanked Lena quietly and started eating. As they shared the meal, Lena and Amir talked about small things. Lena told him about her travels, and Amir shared stories of the city from his perspective. Though their lives were different, they found common ground in simple conversations. They laughed at small incidents and learned from each other. By the end of the meal, Amir felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt respected and appreciated. Most people ignored him, but Lena treated him as an equal. When they left the restaurant, Lena said, "Thank you for spending time with me, Amir. I hope we can meet again." Amir nodded. "It was nice. I enjoyed our talk." "You are kind, Lena. That is more than many people can give." As they parted ways, both felt that their meeting was no longer accidental. Something had begun between them, a connection that could grow stronger with time. Lena walked back to her hotel, thinking of how she could help him more. Amir returned to the streets, feeling that small gestures could make life brighter, even for someone like him. The city continued to move around them, busy and loud, but for Amir and Lena, a quiet understanding had begun, one that might change both of their lives forever. The next morning, Amir woke to the soft sunlight filtering through the cracks in the old bridge where he slept. The city around him was already alive with movement. Cars honked, people hurried to work, and the smell of fresh bread came from the bakery nearby. Amir stood up, stretched, and began his day as usual, walking through familiar streets, looking for small jobs and food. Lena, on the other hand, could not stop thinking about Amir. She had spent the night reflecting on his kindness and courage. She decided she wanted to meet him again, to learn more about his life and perhaps help him in ways that mattered. She left her hotel and walked through the busy streets, scanning for any sign of the man who had guided her safely. It did not take long. Near a small square, she spotted Amir speaking quietly with a shopkeeper. He smiled politely as the man handed him a small loaf of bread. Amir looked up, saw Lena, and his face lit up with recognition. "Lena," he said warmly. "You came again?" "Yes," Lena replied with a smile. "I wanted to see how you are today." Amir shrugged. "I manage. Life goes on. How about you? Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you," Lena said. "I thought we could walk together today if you do not mind. I would like to see the city from your perspective." Amir looked surprised. Few people had ever asked to see the city through his eyes. He nodded slowly. "All right, follow me." As they walked, Amir showed Lena small streets and quiet corners of the city the tourists rarely saw. He pointed out the bakery that gave away leftover bread, the small park where children played safely, and the library that offered free books to anyone who wanted to read. Lena listened carefully, amazed at how much Amir knew and how well he understood the city. "Amir," she said after some time, "you see the city in a way most people never notice. You know the small details, the safe paths, and the hidden spots." "It is incredible," Amir smiled faintly. "When you live on these streets, you have to notice everything. Every street, every corner matters. You cannot ignore the world around you or you will get lost or face danger." Lena thought about his words. She realized that his life, though hard, had taught him lessons that most people with comfort and wealth never learned. She felt grateful for meeting someone so wise and grounded. As they walked, they came to a quiet street lined with old trees. Amir paused and looked around. "This is one of my favorite places," he said softly. "It is peaceful here. You can forget the busy streets for a while." Lena nodded. "It is beautiful. You know, Amir, you have a strength that I admire. You survive every day with courage and yet you help others. Most people would focus only on themselves." Amir looked at her, his eyes calm. "Kindness does not cost anything, Lena. It is free. You can give it even if you have nothing else. And it makes life better, for you and for others." They continued walking in silence for a while, enjoying the quiet. Lena noticed that Amir moved with care, always aware of his surroundings. She felt safe with him, even though he lived in streets that many avoided. Suddenly, Amir stopped near a small fountain. He turned to Lena. "I am glad you came today. Few people take the time to understand someone like me. Most look and do not see." "You are different," Lena smiled warmly. "I do not want to just see. I want to understand. And maybe I can help if you let me." Amir shook his head gently. "You are kind, Lena. But life teaches lessons differently for everyone. I appreciate your heart. That is enough for me." As the sun moved higher, they continued their walk. Lena realized that she was learning more than directions or streets. She was learning humility, patience, and respect from someone who had lived a life far different from hers. She felt that Amir had given her a gift she could never repay, even though she did not yet know how his life could change hers in return. By the end of the morning, they reached the square where they had met. Lena turned to Amir. "Thank you for walking with me today. I have learned a lot," Amir smiled softly, "and I am glad you walked with me. Life is better when you share it, even in small ways." They parted, each carrying a sense of respect and connection. For Lena, the world seemed a little larger, and her heart a little wiser. For Amir, the day had brought a rare joy, the company of someone who saw his worth. The following day, the city seemed brighter. The sun shone through the streets and a soft breeze moved through the trees. Amir walked his usual path, greeting a few shopkeepers and collecting small jobs where he could. Life was not easy, but he had learned to find joy in small moments. Lena, meanwhile, could not stop thinking about Amir. She had spent her morning planning a small surprise for him. She wanted to give him something that could make his daily life easier, but she wanted it to feel natural, not like charity. She left her hotel carrying a small bag and walked toward the area where Amir often spent his time. As she approached, she spotted him near the corner of a quiet street, speaking with an older man who was selling newspapers. Amir looked calm and attentive, nodding politely to the man. When he saw Lena, his face lit up with recognition. "Lena," he said softly, "you are here again. What brings you today? I wanted to see you and I have something for you," Lena said gently, handing him the small bag. Amir looked at the bag with surprise. He hesitated but took it carefully. "What is this?" he asked. "Open it and see," Lena replied with a smile. Inside the bag were a few simple items: a warm scarf, a small pair of gloves, and a sturdy water bottle. Nothing extravagant, but items that could help him through the cold nights and long walks. Amir looked at the gift, feeling a mix of surprise and gratitude. This is too much," Amir said quietly. "I cannot accept this," Lena shook her head. "Please, Amir, it is small, but I thought it could make your days easier. You have helped me, and this is a way I can show my thanks." Amir looked at her, studying her face. He saw sincerity in her eyes, a genuine kindness that he rarely encountered. Slowly, he nodded. "Thank you, Lena. This will help more than you know." They walked together through the city, and Amir tested the scarf and gloves. Lena watched with a quiet smile, happy to see him comfortable and warm. For Amir, this was not about the gift itself, but about the thought behind it. Most people never considered the lives of those living on the streets, yet Lena had noticed him, remembered him, and cared enough to act. As they walked, Lena asked about his day. Amir told her small stories, how he had helped a child find her mother near the park, how a shopkeeper had given him leftover bread, and how he had taught another lost tourist to read a simple map. Lena listened, fascinated by his knowledge and patience. "You do so much for others," Lena said softly. "Even with so little, you give kindness." Amir shook his head. "Kindness is not about having much. It is about what you choose to do with what you have. Even a small act can make a big difference." Lena realized that every day Amir taught lessons that money could not buy: humility, patience, courage, and the power of caring. She thought about how different their lives were, yet how much she had learned from a man who had so little. They reached a quiet park where Amir often rested. The trees created soft shadows on the ground, and the fountain in the middle reflected the sunlight. Amir paused and looked around. "This place is peaceful," he said. "It reminds me to stay calm even when life is difficult." Lena smiled. "It is beautiful. You see beauty everywhere, Amir, even in places most people overlook." Amir nodded. "It is easier when you pay attention. Life has small gifts hidden in simple places. Sometimes you just have to notice them." They sat near the fountain for a while, talking and sharing small stories. For Amir, Lena's presence was comforting, and for Lena, Amir's wisdom and calm nature were inspiring. They both understood that this friendship was special, built not on wealth or appearances, but on respect, kindness, and understanding. When it was time to leave, Lena said, "Thank you for spending your time with me." "Amir, I will not forget you," Amir smiled, holding the small bag with his new belongings. "And I will not forget you either. You have shown me that kindness can travel both ways." As they parted, the city buzzed around them. Yet for Amir and Lena, the day had brought warmth, hope, and a small but meaningful connection that could change their lives forever.